Hi, friends. It's Just the Mess, owner of Just the Mess Canine Training. Some of you may know me as Slug's mom. Some of you may know me as the best pet trainer of the Valley of 2025. You might know me as a silly goose, as a big crier, and you're going to see a lot of that today. I apologize. This is going to be a heavy video. Um, but what you might not know is that becoming a dog trainer wasn't a lifelong dream of mine. It stemmed from some adversity that I went through. Starting this business was a life raft that I clung to when I had everything taken away from me. So I do have some notes here because I have wicked ADHD. Those of you who know me know it's pretty bad. Also, I'm very, very emotional, especially when talking about my attack and how I got into the industry of dog training. And so I fully expect some tears and to be a little jumbled. I'm also feeling a little under the weather. You might hear me. I'm a little nasally. So just stay with me. I'm nasally because I've been crying all morning trying to record this, and also because I'm a little sick. I'm a little under the weather. But April 6th is the day that I was attacked. That is tomorrow. You guys are seeing this today on April 6th because that's when I'm posting it. So it needs to be done. And just bear with me through that. This is how I got into dog training. So 4 years ago today, I wasn't a professional dog trainer, didn't own my own business. I was working an operations job for a global conglomerate, working both mandatory and voluntary 60-hour weeks through the pandemic. I'd even gotten a couple of internal promotions, and I thought that this was going to be a career move for me. I had a career growth mindset. And little did I know that that was going to shift into a survival mindset in a blink of an eye. So we're going to rewind a little bit. In January 12th, I had brought Slug home, a 7-pound Rottweiler puppy. I'd waited over 2 years for him due to circumstances out of our control. And uh, I was very, very specific about bloodlines and temperaments and who I wanted the sire to be and genetics because I wanted the perfect companion. And I didn't know how perfect he was actually going to be. I thought on April 12th we were just starting our life together, but he was arriving just in time to save mine. So um, when I think about Slug, I think about how he was just this big, just my whole world in a ball this big. For a while, I didn't even think I was going to ever even meet him. It started to get so far away that I was starting to give up. But I really, truly believe in divine timing, and he came exactly when he was supposed to. So we fast forward a little bit, and it's April 6th. It's today, 4 years ago. And I'm at work, same day as any other day, clock in, do your stretches, and get to work. And I'm at work, I'm on heavy equipment, and I see a man that I've never seen before. And I've been on all shifts. Those of you who know me know I'm a very peoply person. And I didn't recognize him. And not only did I not recognize him, but he was walking in a travel aisle, which is like the equivalent to seeing someone walk on the interstate. Like it's not appropriate. He didn't have a vest on. He wasn't management. So that was one red flag. But then I saw him drop a little tag outside my aisle, and I got off my equipment. I checked it, and it was a like a date checklist for fire extinguishers. So I went, oh, he's a fire marshal. That's why he's walking. He's checking all the fire extinguishers. He's making sure we're up to code. Okay. And I say, sir, you dropped this, you dropped this. And naturally, I thought it was important. And he can't hear me. It's really loud in the building. And there's a lot of heavy equipment going on. There is a conveyor system going. It's just really loud in there. And so I hop on my equipment and I drive to where I think I would meet up with him on foot. And I was right. And so I go to give him the tag, sir, you dropped this, you dropped this. And he had a really thick accent. And I didn't really understand him. I said, 1 second, like it's really loud in here. I can't really understand you. And I get off my equipment and I go to hand him the tag that he had dropped, and he attacks me. And I was in shock. I had friends coming around corners on heavy equipment going, Jess, are you okay? I saw the whole thing. I've already called security. I'm in shock. I'm bleeding. I'm like, I have to go. Okay. I have to tell security. I have to tell security. And they'd already told me they radioed security and told him. But again, like you don't really, your body just goes through the motions when you're in shock. So I drove to where security is, and I saw them meeting in the middle where he was walking out, and they let him go. They didn't call anybody. They didn't call the authorities. They didn't follow most of the protocol that they were supposed to. They did end up doing a report and pulling me from work for a little bit and getting information and tending to my wounds. And they said, you don't have to go back to work. You don't have to go back to work. But I was in shock, and I was like, no, it's fine. It's fine. I'll go back to work. And I kept having panic attack after panic attack after panic attack. My coworkers saw me and they said, Jess, are you all right? What's going on? Like, you're not you. And I blurted out that someone had attacked me, and they thought I was joking at first because what? Turns out this man was a third-party vendor, meaning he was hired by a third-party company, by the global corporation who hired the company, and he was nowhere near where he was supposed to be in the building. He kind of like slipped through the cracks. The building that I was working in at the time was the second largest building in Virginia, second to the Pentagon. I don't know if that's still the case because these buildings are popping up all over now. Um, but he literally was miles away from where he was supposed to be on foot inside that building when he attacked me. So this never should have happened in the first place. So I do end up going home, because it's not safe to work when your body is having panic attacks and you're driving heavy equipment. And I tell them, like, hey, I work voluntary 60-hour work weeks for a reason. Like, I need to get paid. It's not my fault that I was attacked at work today. This is messed up. And they tell me they can't promise anything, but I need to go home and I need to be safe, and that they're not going to hold it against me as leaving. It's not going to be a hit. Well, of course not. Of course not. It wasn't my fault that this happened. It's your fault that this happened on the clock, on company property, on company time. Um, it shouldn't have happened. So, um, over the next several weeks, I continued to work. Unfortunately, the 6th wasn't my last day of work. I thought I was fine. Um, I worked for an entire month actually, and I kept going to HR saying, hey, something's not right. I have a degree in psychology with a neurofocus. I helped start a mental health advocacy program on my college campus that I graduated from. Like, I know when to ask for help. So I kept going to HR and saying, hey, I need help. Hey, I need help. My sleep's interrupted. I'm having panic attacks. Something's not right. And I'm having panic attacks at work. They would tell me, just go in an aisle, have your panic attack, and get back to work as soon as you can. Okay. So I was going in almost daily towards the end of that month asking for help, asking for resources, and all the resources they claimed to offer were not available to me. Every time I tried to outreach to therapy programs or anything, they said that I had to stay in network, but no one in network was taking new patients from this company. So my hands were tied. And they also made me tell my story every day, but then would say, I'm sorry, we can't help you. So I could call about once a day to tell my story, have a full-blown panic attack, get back to work. Again, my sleep was interrupted. Slug was just barely starting to hold his potty through the night. At that point, he's like 4.5 months old. So he was so young. And I ended up getting wheeled out on May 6th in an ambulance because I had a 40+ minute long panic attack and a dissociative one, meaning nobody's home mentally. My body's going through panic, but like when I woke up out of it, I don't really remember what happened. There's a couple brownout spots where I remember my coworkers trying to help me, but for the most part, I don't really remember how I got out of the building and how I got to the hospital, but I did leave in an ambulance. And that's when HR started taking me seriously because they kind of just started waving me off when I was coming in daily asking for help. I mean, I was experiencing symptoms that I didn't even have words for. Like, my brain was on fire, it was screaming, and I was pleading for help. My coworkers, my friends, my partner at the time was like, Jess, you're not yourself. Like, we need to get you help. And I kept trying. I kept trying. And they just didn't offer me help. Like I said, they didn't take me seriously. So like I said, on May 6th, my nervous system finally gave out. I left in an ambulance, and I was officially diagnosed with debilitating PTSD a month later to the day. Sorry, my camera died. It only records an 8K up to 10 minutes, so I have to keep checking it to make sure that it's still recording. So that might happen a couple of times. So that's when my second nightmare started, my recovery phase. And I could not have imagined what was going to come next. Honestly, it was worse than the actual attack. Despite 3 unaffiliated doctors filling out my paperwork, telling them that I cannot work, that I have severe debilitating PTSD, that I need to get that managed before I can go back to work, they kept denying my leave. Now, when you go through leave through any kind of corporations, it's really common for them to deny you once or twice, maybe even 3 times. They make it a little bit difficult for you to just get on leaves. That way people aren't just, ooh, I have a hangnail, let me off work. But again, I'm a bit of a workaholic. I'm working voluntary 60-hour weeks, not mandatory. And I often did side gigs as well. So I work a lot. I'm known for being the stable one, fiscally responsible. All my bills are in my name. I'm very, very, very hyper independent as a person typically. And that's what made this recovery stage for me so crippling, because I had no control over it. I couldn't work if I wanted to. The medications they were putting me on were not helping me. They were making it worse. I had the worst side effects ever. I joke with my clients all the time, 1 in a million people experience extreme death on these medications, and that's always me. I always get these really niche side effects that most people don't experience, but it's not impossible. And so, trigger warning, kind of gross. I was experiencing vertigo, severe vomiting, diarrhea. I gained 40 pounds in 2 months. Suicidal ideations, which is, the opposite of what we were going for. I was a zombie. I was a shell of myself, emotional mood swings, disrupted sleep patterns. And again, is that happening because of the PTSD or is that happening because of the medication? And I had a very, very new relationship at the time. Shout out to him. He really, really helped me, even though he himself was going through really severe medical issues and work-related and financial issues because of his medical issues he was going through. And he did his best to financially support me. And I couldn't have done it without him. I couldn't have done it without my GoFundMe because they would pick up the slack when he couldn't. The people dropping food off at my house, the food banks that I was going to, the people sending me care packages. You don't know how big your community is until you need them. I mean, there were people that were sending me money every month that hadn't seen me in over a decade, and sending me care packages that hadn't seen me in over a decade. I'm so used to being hyper independent and doing everything myself. It was terrifying to ask for help. And yet people still showed up, people that I hadn't done anything for or anything to, and I didn't deserve their kindness, and they showed up. So, I really, if any of you guys are watching this now, anyone who donated anything or came by to check on me or brought me food, I think about it a lot, and I cannot repay you. And I'm so appreciative of your kindness to me. So thank you for that. Your village is a lot larger than you think it is. That's my point there. But thank you guys. Thank you for your support through all of that. So again, I'm really sensitive to medications. That whole thing was a nightmare. By the end of the 9 or 10 months that I was dealing with the meat and the potatoes of this situation, I had gone on 14 or 15 different medications because they weren't working. We had to try something else. We had to try something else. We had to try something else. And I'd stay on it for a couple weeks or a couple months, just long enough for it to regulate, and it would make me worse. And sorry about the train. I survived off the kindness of people who hadn't seen me in a decade, friends, family, and my boyfriend at the time. Those 10 months were confusing, debilitating, painful. There was legal battles. I was losing everything. I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent, let alone a doctor bill, right? Like I'd lost everything I'd worked for. But despite that, despite the hunger and the stress and the medications and the crippling new disability, I had Slug. He was there every day, all day. And if I had the energy to, I would try to train him. There's no way I could have predicted that was going to be even harder than the initial trauma that I experienced. The company that I was working for made it increasingly difficult for me to get the help that I needed. They drained me of my own resources. They drained me of my own energy. They didn't give me access to things that they promised me. I had 3 separate doctors saying that I was not eligible to work because of my debilitating PTSD, filling out paperwork for my leave because of the incident happened at work on the clock, and they refused to pay me. Earlier, I think I mentioned the guy who attacked me was hired by a third-party vendor. And so essentially for those 9 or 10 months, the third-party vendor said that it was this giant global conglomerate's fault, and the giant global conglomerate said it was the third-party vendor. And so they were playing this dance of pin the tail on the donkey of who was to blame, and that's how they avoided paying me for 9 or 10 months. And they kept denying my leaves, no matter how many doctors kept saying, like, no, she's disabled, like she's got severe PTSD, we need to take care of this before she can go back to work. And I'm extremely sensitive to medications, and it didn't make sense. It didn't matter how many professionals that weren't affiliated with each other continued to fill out this paperwork and let them know that I couldn't work. They had let the man who attacked me slip through the cracks, and they left me to drown when it happened in their place of business while I was on the clock doing my job. So 9 or 10 months is a long time to go without pay. I don't know anyone that can survive that long without anything. And shout out to my very, very new boyfriend at the time. We had started dating middle of February, and I got attacked in April, early April, first week of April. So like, we didn't have any strong foundation or anything, and he was going through his own very severe medical issues, his own work-related issues to his medical issues, and he did everything he possibly could to keep me upright when my GoFundMe couldn't, or when family was falling short and I had nothing. So shout out to him. Hope that he's doing well. We're no longer together, but I think so highly of him. And I really do believe that God and the universe puts exactly who you need in your life exactly when you need it. So, as mentioned before, I waited over 2 years for Slug, and at one point I thought I was never going to meet him. I had friends at work saying, "Are you ever going to get that Rottweiler? Are you going to ever get that dog?" If he had come any sooner, he probably would have picked up a lot of habits and just been a pet, you know? And if he'd come any later, I wouldn't have had the energy, money, capacity to take him on as a puppy. I probably would have said, I'm going to have to wait on getting that puppy. He came exactly when he was supposed to. That partner came exactly when they were supposed to. Everything happened exactly when it was supposed to happen. And what looked like my whole world was crashing down, and for a while it was, actually turned out to be such a beautiful, beautiful blessing. So again, I survived on the kindness of strangers, my GoFundMe, my new partner at the time, very new partner, and Slug, who showed like a natural calmness and a natural affinity to care for me in a very calculated sense as a very young puppy. And I could go further into that in other videos of examples of when it was like, you naturally are doing this. You have natural alerts. You have natural abilities. Because he was far too young to train any actual service work for. If anyone knows anything about service dogs, it takes on average 2 years to train them. And when I got attacked, he was 4.5 months old. So like the first year is typically obedience, basic and advanced, public access, and teaching them to be calm and focused in a variety of situations. And then the second year is usually a little bit more formal training that has to be more specific to their handler's needs. So he was nowhere near learning the specifics of service dog work. And I wasn't a professional. I'd only ever trained my pets as a child from reading a book from like the 40s or the 50s that my dad had given me that I think he had read when he was a kid trying to train dogs. So needless to say, a lot of things have changed since the 40s and 50s when I read that book, and my methods of training and everything I did was completely different. Slug was the first dog I'd ever trained the way I trained him, and I was not a professional when I trained him. I made a lot of mistakes. I learned a lot, and I somehow still got one of the best dogs I've ever met, a true lifesaver. He was just a baby, and he was barely sleeping through the night. And I was emotionally, physically, and financially bankrupt at the time, considering everything that was going on. I didn't have money to pay a trainer, and I didn't have time or the capacity to take him out and travel and like overly socialize him. I mean, I guess I did have a lot of time, but that whole year is a blur. It really is a blur. I mean, I was a maid of honor in my friend's wedding, and I hardly remember the wedding, and I don't remember my birthday, and I don't remember big milestones that happened that year. I look back on pictures that come up in memories, and I don't remember them. My brain had shut off to protect itself. So that's another thing that I had to mourn the loss of. Now I am a disabled person, and I have a whole year of memory missing because of medication and stress and what I was going through. And time doesn't stop because your brain is short-circuiting. It keeps going. And so I had to mourn the loss of a year that went missing for me. My body went through the motions, but my brain had checked out. So, like I said, I had no money to invest in training or anything, and he just had this natural, genetic, calculated calmness about him, and he grounded me effortlessly without me ever having to ask. So it was then that I started to owner train Slug for service work. And everywhere we went, people would stop us and say, "Hey, that is the calmest, most well-mannered young puppy that I've ever met. Like, you should do this professionally." And I'd beam with pride. I'd say, "No, like I'm just off work right now. I'm gonna get better. I like my hours, my benefits, my pay." What I was really saying is I liked my security. I liked my job. I was consistent. I knew what to expect, and I was working my way up the corporate ladder. Like, I liked the stability that it gave me. And I would, politely tell them, like, "No, I'm not a professional. No, I never wanted to run my own business. I'll be back to work soon." And one person in particular that stood out, and we're still friends to this day. She was the trainer at PetSmart, and so I'm in there, and she comes up and she starts to do her training spiel because she sees a young puppy and he's the perfect age and candidate for their program, and she notices that he's already proficient in the things that she's trying to teach him at his age. And she looks at me and she says, "Have you ever considered doing dog training professionally?" And I kind of giggled and said the same thing that I've said to everyone. "No, I've had a couple people say that, but I'm just off work right now. There was an accident." I like to call it on purpose because that man did it on purpose. But I'll be back to work soon. I'll be back to work soon. I'm just training him in the meantime. And she says, you're really good at what you do. Like naturally very good at what you do. You've never taken courses or classes or anything on dog training. And I said, no, I mean, I read a book when I was a kid and I had 4 dogs growing up, but I'm doing everything really differently with him than I've trained with any other dog. So with him being a Rottweiler and him being a stubborn breed, she said, you should really reconsider. And if you do, here's my number, here's my information. So we became fast friends, followed each other on like TikTok and Facebook, and we're still friends today. Thank you for your support, lady. But a couple months ago, she commented on one of my videos that I made, and I said to her, who knew, Slug, sorry, who knew that you were going to be so right about me becoming a dog trainer? And she said, sorry, give me a second. She said she knew from the moment that she met us that we were going to be something special. She could tell, and she was right. She was right. So I love you. Thank you for your continued support. And that sits with me, that you said that. I think about this often. I think about everyone who's helped me, everyone who continuously showed up, who hadn't seen me in a decade, for years and years. Everyone is put into your life exactly when they're supposed to be. And I stand by that. Call it blessings, calling it fate, calling it good karma, God, divine intervention. All of it is so real, because everything had to happen exactly when it happened. I had to be dating the right person. I had to get my dog 2 years late. I had to be working at this specific company. I had to be in the aisle on that day that man did that and dropped that tag. Everything had to go exactly how it went in order for me to get here where I am right now. So the long story short is, it took everything I had worked years for, all of my stability, ripped it away from me. It forced me to ask for help, which is something I never previously could have done. It forced me to see that my community is much greater than I ever thought it was or could have possibly be, and it continues to grow all the time. God and the universe has a funny way of giving you little gentle pushes in the direction that you are supposed to go. And if you don't listen, sometimes those gentle pushes are very, very violent throat punches. And I had to have everything ripped away from me to get out of my comfort zone and to use my natural born gifts, my natural born intellect, my natural born working drive, my history of trauma, my calmness and my gentleness towards humans and animals, my empathy. I had to put all that in the pot to build what we're still building now with all of you who are still watching. And today's 4 years since my attack. And I'm so grateful that man put his hands on me, because Slug and I have trained over 425 dogs, and counting. I won Best of the Valley 2025 at only 2.5 years in with business. Right now I'm in the running for 2026, so vote daily. There's only a couple more days left to vote. So maybe we'll win Best of the Valley 2026. That spans 8 counties. Sometimes things that cripple you and take everything away from you are actually the catalyst that's going to allow you to build something so beautiful and amazing and helpful, something far beyond anything you could have ever imagined. And you have the opportunity to grow from it. You can let it cripple you, or you can turn it into something beautiful. So I went from having 750 panic attacks a month, which is about 25 a day, to less than 1 a month on average. I usually will have a cluster of them when I do have them. So I will literally go months without panic attacks. Then I might have 3 to 5 in a week span. And then I'll go months without panic attacks, completely medication free. I do have my service dog, who quite literally is a lifesaver. Hi, honey. But I love you guys. This is a really long video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hearing my story. Dogs are good. Dogs saved my life. I want to help you and your dogs have a fraction of the relationship that Slug and I have. I want you to have that with your babies. I want to keep building a community of people that understand their dogs better. And I want to keep shifting the community around me. I've already got my hands in places with other nonprofits. I love working with On the Road Collaborative. They're fantastic. They help underprivileged youths get access to after-school activities, to tutoring, to food, to career enrichment, which is what I do with them. I teach them that there are other job opportunities other than doctors, lawyers, and police officers, right? You can be a dog trainer. I also teach them about canine body language, preventing your kids from getting attacked or seeing signs that maybe previously they didn't know, and now they do. They know what to look out for. I teach them about tools and training. I've also worked with the Mosby Foundation. We love them, where they help people who can't afford vet bills so that their dogs don't have to die just because they don't have the means to get them through an unexpected medical bill. And so many other things. I've worked with a number of nonprofits, but shout out to all of you, all of your support. And if you're going through something right now, it does get better. Sometimes people's journeys are not as fast as mine, and I'm so blessed to be able to do what I'm doing now. In just 4 years, I went from, like I said, 750 panic attacks. I had a doctor saying I couldn't work more than 10 to 15 hours a week, close to that 10 mark, no more than 6 hours in a single day, and Slug had to be with me. No one was going to hire me at those parameters, so I started a business and I hired me. I got my certifications. I got my business going. The moral of today's story, and the reason why I wanted to tell you my story at 4 years, is to talk about and highlight how healing animals are, how beautiful they are, and the fact that they mirror us in our energy. And you can either choose to look at that and go, oh, my animal is a reflection of me, or you can deflect onto them and say that they're a bad dog, but in reality, that's not the situation. I attribute my healing, to going from 750 panic attacks a month to less than one on average. I attribute that to dogs, and all of you who've let me into your homes, and all of you who will continue to let me into your homes as an in-home trainer to teach you the how and the why behind behavior, behind you and your dogs. You can either choose to look at them as the mirrors that they are, as a reflection of you and what's inside of you, or you can use them as a deflection and go, oh, that's a bad dog, or they're not acting right. And the reality is that they really just are an extension of us, and they are so, so, so healing. I could not have gone completely off medication 3 years ago. I love you, puppy. Oh, I know, I love you, puppy. Come here. Come here. I could not have gone completely off medication 3 years ago, be next to panic attack free, like I said, 750 panic attacks a month, down to less than one on average because I get little clusters. And I cold turkeyed my medicine 3 years ago. So don't do that, kids. Taper off if you're ready. But I attribute all of that to how healing dogs are. I get to come into your homes and I get to co-regulate you, and I get to co-regulate your animals. I get to come home and I get to co-regulate my animal. This sweet little puppy who saved my life and who has helped change the lives of so many dogs. 425 dogs and counting. I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful. Thank you for sticking around this long and listening to this story. This is a very, very long video. I couldn't have done what I've done this far without you, but I wanted you to know it gets better. Even though everything is getting ripped away from you, or at least it appears to be, it's most likely a catalyst that is going to catapult you so far into the future. You're going to create something so much more beautiful than you could have ever possibly imagined. You just might meet a dog that will save your life and the lives of so many people around you. So it does get better. I love you. Thank you for trusting me. And we'll see you on the next one. Is that my dirty dog? Can I get a? Can I get a? Yeah. Can I get a? Yeah. Slug. Can I get a? I love you. I love you.